about my two favorite subjects, fintech, blockchain. This is a primary episode here on VCTV as we love these areas. We love talking about finance. We love talking about blockchain. We love talking about them together. And we know that so much is happening in these industries. So much is changing from an entire global perspective on a day-to-day, minute-by-minute basis around these areas that it's important for us to talk about them on a more regular basis. And so be ready, as we're going to be doing that more here on VCTV. So get excited. With that, as I like to do on this episode, read a few headlines. I got one big one. China has been now distributing or working with their central bank digital currency, also known as the digital yuan, and apparently have done over $162 million in transactions recently. So a little bit to talk about, a little bit to tease off your Monday morning, your partner day here on VCTV, but we've got so much more to cover, including trends and what's all happening from on the ground perspectives of investors and experts from around the world. But before we get started, a big thank you to you, our audience, for tuning in. If you like what you hear today, click subscribe. Do reach out as well as an investor if you'd like to be on a show like today to join our panel of investors to share your thoughts and insights on technologies, industries, and trends around the world. And entrepreneurs, this is also a show for you, not just to be educated, but also to get the chance to get on our virtual stage and pitch us as investors your product, your project, your company, your service in real time. Get feedback from us as investors and also have the chance to meet and showcase to our live audience as well. Do reach out to the LATOKEN team and or myself, and we'd like to find the right spot for you. And with that, a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Emmanuel for making VCTV possible every single day. With that, let's go ahead and get started. And as we do, just as a reminder, as again, we like to talk about headlines and fun facts here on the FinTech, Decentralized Finance, and Blockchain edition of VCTV. We are now DeFi over $11 billion, when back in May, we were just at $1 billion US, something to think about as we round out the end of the year here in 2020. With that being said, let's kick it off. Sadie, a pleasure to have you. First time guest here on VCTV with Emmanuel and I. A little intro, a little background for the audience.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here today. My name is Sadie Rainey, and I'm the co-founder and COO of Strix Leviathan. Strix Leviathan is both an investment manager and a software business focused on the digital asset space. We launched just about 3 years ago, and we take an active and quantitative approach to the digital asset market. Our entire business is run on a proprietary software platform, which we think that our software suite is probably the most comprehensive in the industry that we have seen today. I think that's because we look at everything in this space from a technical view and try to figure out how can we make it the most efficient way that we can, and that keeps our team really lean and allows us to pivot and accomplish a lot. So I love talking about our trading as much as I love talking about our software and where we think that the space needs some improvement. Our corporate office for Strix Leviathan is in Seattle, but I split my time between Seattle and Barcelona. Here in Barcelona, I'm part of the Barcelona Technology Transfer Group at the ESA University, where I mentor early in venture stage startups in fintech, nanotech, and other deep tech sciences. And that's me.
Wow. All right. Well, we're going to hold off on the nanotech side today for today's episode, but definitely want to have you back to talk a little bit more about that. Well, welcome as well. Next up, the man who needs no introduction, who is well known in this space, but nonetheless, I'll give him the chance to provide his introduction, a little bit of background. Alex, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Kyle. And yeah, so founder of Celsius Network, we provide two basic services. One is effectively a savings account where you can deposit, as of today, 41 different digital assets and earn yield on them. So anything like Bitcoin or Ethereum, all the way to more exotic things like we launched Uni today. So you can put your Uniswap and earn 10% on it without having to do anything. We manage just over $1.6 billion worth of coins and tokens for about 200,000 people worldwide. And really seen a tremendous amount of growth in the past, so basically since March, a huge acceleration. And before that, before Celsius, I've done 7 startups as a founder, including 2 IPOs and several trade sales. So definitely I've been in the space for a while.
Just a few minutes. You've only been here for a few minutes. All jokes aside, congratulations on the launch today. That's very exciting. For those who haven't checked out Celsius, definitely do. I will shamelessly promote it throughout the entire episode today. So if you haven't heard it once, you're going to hear it a lot more. But definitely check it out. Alex and team are absolutely wonderful. Adrian, welcome to the show. Pleasure to have you. Intro, background.
Hello, Kyle. Hello, everybody. My name is Adrian Niculescu. Happy to be here again, and I will be for some episodes on October and November. I'm involved with few projects. One of them is CloudCoin Consortium, and by the way, we have a breaking news. CloudCoin was just listed last Monday on Bitcoin.com, and is the first digital asset with no blockchain, which actually was listed on a high volume exchange. It's traded to an ERC20 token. I will send you some links about the process and everything to share with everybody. But this is a world first digital asset with no blockchain, which was listed there. So truly a breakthrough moment. I'm also involved with Faster Capital, which is a company accelerator incubator based in Dubai, as a mentor in Virgin startups, and I'm a workaholic. What to say? I don't recommend this to everybody, but this is who am I. Thank you very much for having me here.
Yeah, welcome back to the show. I think in this industry, we're all workaholics. We're all 24/7, 365, whether we're living and breathing or we're the algorithm versions of ourselves. So nonetheless, I think we're all with you as well. But with that being said, Anuj, welcome back to the show, my friend. I know you're far and a distance, but nonetheless, you feel like you're next door. Little intro, a little background.
Thanks, mate. I mean, always great to see you. Always great to be on the show. Introducing myself, I'm a founder of Yellow Sapphire Technologies. We are an IT development and partnering company based out of India. We have our expertise in fintech, medtech, and gaming products. Along with Yellow Sapphire, I'm also an international partner with World Business Angel Forum, where it's a G20 initiative to promote global financial inclusivity. So part of the ethics committee, working out with other fintech companies, other gaming companies to help them out with different kinds of product. Working with investors in Israel, in United States. So that's just a little bit about me.
Wonderful. Well, again, welcome back to the show. It's always a pleasure as well. Last but not least, the man himself of artificial intelligence. Welcome back, my friend. It's been a few minutes since we've seen each other. A little intro, a little background. Gary Fowler.
The big kahuna of everything, Kyle. It's always a pleasure to be here.
That's how I want to start every Monday, right there.
And if you were in Hawaii, it would even be a better start because a big kahuna is a good guy. Anyhow, my name is Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I started my first company at 21. Actually, I'm a clinical psychologist too. I got out of graduate school a little bit early. And I started a construction tech startup that really took off. And I actually, when I was in graduate school, sold some of the first Apple IIs. So I actually was involved selling apples while I was in graduate school. I really loved it. And I got to know some very interesting people in the Valley at the time. So I've been in ups and downs. I've done 16 companies, 1 IPO, 2 unicorns. I am the CEO, president, and co-founder of GSD, Get Shit Done Venture Studios, premier venture studios, focusing on AI. I just wrote an article about AI, gene splitting and genomes. I'm writing an article in Forbes and then an article on SPACs, which I think, Kyle, you got me interested in that, and I started diving into them. So Wednesday and Medium, actually putting that out. Tomorrow, by the way, for everybody, the general manager of Intel for smart cities and IoT worldwide, Samir Sharma is going to be on my show. So if you get a chance, tune in. Should be pretty interesting. Some interesting revelations. I just love AI. AI is a new electricity, and I'm happy to be here because it's like being home. It's like having a family.
That it is. And it's Partner Monday, which means we're all here on Partner Monday willing to
Oh, and
talk
I'm an
about.
investor too. I'm an investor too. So we're building a $100 million fund. I also privately invest in companies. So I love to invest.
There you go. You've got some of the best and the brightest here around the world in this industry, literally around the world as we're coming from all different corners. So with that, let's kick off with you, Sadie. What is the current state of fintech and blockchain from your standpoint? I mean, right now this industry changes what seems like on a minute by minute basis globally, and we have so much happening that there couldn't be a better time to be in this industry, as the entire world, in some cases, as Matthew has said previously on this show as well, that the entire world is having to redo this infrastructure at the exact same time. The entire world is looking at how they can involve payments or financial technology processes in their business, like unlike any time before. What are you seeing as the current state from your side?
So it's funny, when I started a few years ago in this space, I came from a previous tech company that was acquired by IBM, and we got into the crypto markets right when the 2017 rush was happening, and everyone was saying we've missed it, and I still hear people say that now, which it boggles my mind, because to me, where we're at right now is still so early stage. I mean, when we first started trading, to do any kind of a sizable trade, you couldn't trade on exchange, and you still really can't move any kind of volume on an exchange. But 3 years ago, we were in Skype chats where you were Skyping and asking for a quote and waiting sometimes 3 to 5 to 7 minutes to get a quote back. And it hasn't really evolved much from that place. We trade now through APIs. So if you don't have an API with your desk, we don't trade, because we just don't have the time to do it all manually. But that's how a lot of people are still trading in this space. So when people keep saying I've missed it, there's so much building to be done in this space, so much improvement, so many tools. People are really excited about this institutional wave, but from where we stand, the tools aren't ready for that institutional wave. So we continue to trade, but we focus a lot on the tools that we use to trade and fine tune them, because that's really where we think the market is right now, where the market's being held back right now, is the lack of tools and consistency. And there's so many exciting things happening that everyone's charging forward, but very little of it actually interweaves well or works efficiently.
It's the picks and shovels. I couldn't agree more. I mean, having looked at this space, and we've talked about it again a number of times here on VCTV, there is no better time than now. You're not late. If anything, you're getting into the game at the right moment. And this is something that Alex may mention further here in just a moment, but this industry, both on the fintech side, which by the way is a very established industry looking to be redone. So you haven't missed the boat, because it's coming brand new right now. And on the blockchain side, I mean, this is something that's continually evolving, and we're still in early days there. So there is not a better time than now to get in, and will continue to be like that for some time. So absolutely great point, Sadie. And I'll come back to you on the trading aspect. I've got a question for you in a moment. Alex, to you, what are you seeing as the current state? I mean, you sit on all sides of this, from not just Celsius, but also as an expert in the industry. What are you seeing as the current state of things?
Well, I think we went through several waves of adoption. We're all kind of waiting for the institutions to come in and take us to new highs. But my view is more that retail is really what's driving this. And this is the first time in history, I think, that a financial product started in retail and not on Wall Street or in or in London or some other financial structure. So Celsius focused on, again, interest income. That's something that is disappearing from this planet, right? Every central bank is telling you rates are going to be zero or negative, and your bank is paying you on average 0.1%. So we, for example, in stablecoins, pay 100 times more than a bank. And it's not because we're so good, it's just the bank stealing so much from you. So So I think that is a product that everybody needs. There isn't a person on the planet who needs that. And the industry as a whole is looking for that second effectively home run or killer app beyond. Not so many people can afford to put 10, 20, $50,000 into Bitcoin and forget about it. So if you make it much more liquid, you're going to have 10x the adoption.
Well, and Bitcoin's just one piece of it too, right? We're starting to see growth in new areas as well, and we're starting to talk about digital collectibles and digital art and this whole new emerging or re-emerging area of collectibles as well.
It's still 60, Bitcoin dominance is still 60 something percent. So we can talk about all these other things, but in reality, almost everybody who comes into this industry lands on Bitcoin first, and then they go and explore other areas, DeFi or whatever, whatever other new innovation we're going to have in the space.
Absolutely, and spot on with that. Adrian, to you, current state, what are you seeing from your view as well? And again, congratulations on the recent launch.
Thank you very much. I see many tokens coming. I see many business models, and related to what Alex just said, I see many companies focusing on the kind of interest you can get if you keep the crypto with them, which is very, very good, because if we are talking about a bull market, the prices of the coins will increase, of course, ideally the good coins, but also you can get an interest, which is a positive one, because most of the banks, they basically, you have to pay them to keep the money with them, so the interest is rather negative than positive. And I saw that the Tron ecosystem made some nice moves, and I saw a huge demand for Tron, which is different than what was like 6 months ago. And I see a new trend. It's not fintech, it's techfin. Techfin is a new trend. Maybe we can talk more in a different episode.
What is it?
Our
no,
companies,
you teased it out. What is it? What is TechFin? You've teased it out. What is it?
I saw is our companies creating ecosystems. Some of them are working without the internet, and they start with the technology. They build those ecosystems, and after that they add the financial part. So it's backwards from what we see now in fintech. It's a new market, is defining itself. I know some guys who are working on some stuff, so I like to be an early adopter in things. So we'll talk more about that. It's just at the beginning of a new trend. Is TechFin. They start with technologies, they build ecosystems from the real economy, and on top of everything, they add the financial part, the crypto and everything else. So there is substance first, and on top they are putting the technology, the payment systems, and the coins and tokens.
I love it. Okay.
So this is what I'm seeing these days.
I like it. Okay. All right. Well, with that, Anuj, to you, what are you seeing as current states? I mean, coming from the India side, but then also a global perspective with some of the work that you're doing on a bigger scale as well. What are you seeing as the current state of both fintech and blockchain?
So, in terms of these two markets, since we are working with a lot of accelerators, with a lot of incubators, oftentimes we have a chance to work on the latest technology that's coming up. And more often than not, we are the first one to receive feedback on those fronts. I'm going to do a callback to something Sadie said. She was talking about people saying, "Oh, I missed the blockchain. I missed the blockchain wave. I missed a great opportunity to make money." I honestly think she's right. We never missed it. The technology, blockchain in itself, is a very nascent technology. We are still trying to figure out what it is, how can we actually have it implemented? In terms of fintech, while a lot of entrepreneurs in India or in Israel are going crazy, oh my God, I'm going to integrate Bitcoin, or I'm going to integrate a decentralized system into a fintech model and have it working, it's not going to happen immediately. A truly decentralized system is very difficult to make and very difficult to maintain. There's a reason why 60% uh, of cryptocurrency transaction is bitcoins, because that was the one point that was the one currency that was able to reach a scale. If you've read this book called Tipping Point, there's a critical mass that everything has to achieve. So taking that as an example, if you're creating a fintech system where you're trying to build a truly decentralized system, I think you're shooting way above the moon right now. You got to have realistic goals where you're targeting real things in fintech. You're probably going ahead with making transaction without internet. Companies like Paytm in India right now are facing that very same challenge in Southeast Asia. That's one thing that I talk about a lot, that although there are a lot of digital transactions that are happening, we still have to make sure that we take it to a level where those transactions can happen not just over 4G, but 2G as well, because internet is still reaching out to a bigger population here. And in terms of blockchain, if you really want to get into it, why not get into gaming? Because gaming is one thing which is expanding, and creating a truly decentralized system needs a scale which gaming system can develop. A company like Activision, who's deploying massive resources into Call of Duty and developing Call of Duty mobile, which is fantastic. You practically brought a console game into mobile. If you can do that, create a game, have it deployed over 100 million phones, you have a decentralized system. That's your first entry into the blockchain market, into a truly decentralized system. So I think in terms of these two markets, blockchain is probably going to enter through gaming. It's going to develop into AI, and then it's going to get into fintech, rather than getting into financial sector and then getting into other sectors.
Well, and you mentioned gaming, which I would love to follow up more on, as this is becoming another hot trend on the blockchain space. And you mentioned Activision. We've seen Unity and a number of others jumping into this space, working with a number of blockchains, either proprietary or others, to develop something around the gaming space to handle the transaction speeds required for gaming. And also, to Alex's point around Bitcoin being the entry point and then growing from there, gaming actually has acted as a very unique entry point for digital assets, right? The inherent idea of digital assets in games is very common and has been for a number of years. And now the question is, can we take the next step and bring those digital assets in game out of game into other things as well, right? Can we take Animal Crossing, the new Happy Hour, and the things that we take care of in that game and bring that out and actually do something with it of a tangible value in the real world? And we've started seeing that in some new games, but also exciting to see that come into play in the future.
Absolutely. Let me add on to that. So if you look at some of the games, esports tournaments has exploded in lockdown. We have had esports growing tremendously month on month. And you've got to realize that a lot more people are going to get into competitive gaming. Call of Duty had its own tournament. PUBG is doing that. A lot of people are getting into it, and they are realizing that, all right, if I'm playing a FPS game in a tournament, even if I'm not playing at a global tournament, even at a local level, milliseconds of it matters. So you're going to see that kind of volume happening, because people are going to switch to blockchain to manage that transaction level. And of course, digital currency in gaming is a very common thing. So if you can take that into a form of cryptocurrency, it's a win-win for everyone.
Absolutely. Gary, to you, current state, what are you seeing?
Can you hear me, Kyle?
Loud and clear.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening, right? Let's remember, I'm a country boy from Pennsylvania, so we keep it simple. I mean, we've got the situation where the brick and mortar banks, I mean, there's been challenges over the last 8-9 months. So the trend's really away from brick and mortar banks, everything about going digital online. But if we look at about digital online, how do we make it better? So, I mean, banks that I've used have not traditionally used things like chat box. So AI and machine learning are going to be critically important. Then if you look at it, big data, how to provide actionable insights, how to provide better products for that customer. Paycheck distribution. Why do paychecks have to be paid every 2 weeks or a month, right? And so these are like can be simple, stupid. But if we look at what's happening now, and then we've got on the other side of it, robotic process automation. Look at all the mundane tasks that are in a bank that could be done using RPA. I had a conversation with the top folks at PwC recently, and we were talking about RPA and how pervasive it's gone throughout because of this digital transformation, but in banks in particular. What about security and compliance? Being able to figure out, are we complying or not? Is this a bad transaction or not? Am I going to have problems with this customer in the future or not? Or is it a great customer I ought to be spending a lot more time with? And those are kind of actionable insights. I mean, traditionally, think about it. You used to go into the bank, you go into your bank, see your private banker, you sit down, and all of a sudden the world opens up. But those kind of ways are not going to happen in the foreseeable future. So let's figure out how we can do it differently. So AI, machine learning, paycheck distribution, digital banking, big data, and how to be able to provide actionable insights. Companies like Investment and Yodlee that provide some of those technologies today. It's just, and so all the startups and the VCs that are out there, cryptocurrency is great, but I mean, AI and digital banking are red hot, actually white hot. Take a look at it.
Well, and it's that convergence, right? It's the convergence of all these technologies coming together, which leads to where are the areas of opportunity? Where are we going with this? I mean, we're less than 80 days out from the end of the end of 2020. Crazy to think. 2020 has been a foundational year for these two industries. So much has happened in the last 10 months, and not just due to the current global events, but in general, there has been so much activity in a very exciting way that had kind of been bubbling up. We just, bam, hit it at the right time. Looking forward to the decade ahead, we've got potentially one of the most exciting decades when it comes to these two industries that are going to be happening. Where are the opportunities? Where should we be paying attention to for not just these last 80 plus days, but also looking into 2021? I mean, whether that's fintech in general, that's blockchain, whether that's the convergence of certain technologies, that's decentralized finance, it's tech fin, it's gaming. Where are you seeing, and we'll start with you, Gary, where are you seeing the areas of opportunity that we should be focused on in terms of trends going forward to the next year?
Robotic process automation is, that's white hot in the banks today. And then compliance. I mean, it's always an issue with compliance, but the thing is, you don't need somebody that's a forensic accountant to go down through the books. I mean, the AI can be trained to do it. The other thing is, like I said, I mean, if you're going into a bank, how many banks use chatbots? Not a lot, right? Why not? If you're going to have you're going to encourage, and with my two corporate accounts, they don't use any chat box at all. It's crazy. And these are big banks. So making it hyper personalized to make the banking experience more efficient and effective is critically important. Banks are in the Stone Ages, right? It's back like the 1800s and the Wild West. I mean, it's not like that anymore. So these people that want to cater, I mean, I've had a horrible experience with my own personal private bank in the last 3 months. They haven't gone through the digital transformation. I just bought a car and I couldn't even get them to give me a call back, and I'm in a private bank. I said, forget about it. They called me back 2 days too late, right? I said, forget it. I paid cash, so they better get on the stick, because if not, there's going to be two worlds, Kyle. There's going to be the banks that understand this digital transformation, and they're going to be the ones that are in the Stone Ages who understand, hey, you need to come into the office. This is a brick and mortar private banking relationship, and you need to be face to face. Those days are over. And the ones that embrace this transformation, the banks, are going to take off. They have no choice, because their competitors are going to streamline their operations and not have as many people doing the compliance and use an AI to be able to do it, tools like Abby, right? And to be able to go down through and do it. And so their costs are going to be a lot less. How in the world are they going to stay in business? And they're going to have to reduce their footprint. Look at the banks, they're like on every corner. You don't need a bank in every corner. You need an ATM, but you don't need a full bank. They're not even open for God's sake. It's crazy. I don't know what it's like. And I haven't been out to my place in California for a few months, but I know here in Palm Beach, the banks aren't even open. You can't even go in. So why not? I don't need to have somebody in a bank there. It could be anywhere.
Well, and that let me lead into Alex there. I see Alex is kind of chomping at the bit to make a comment. Alex, what do you see as the areas of opportunities furthering Gary's point and just in general for the next year ahead?
I put my special T-shirt of banks are not your friends.
I love it. I love it.
Look, we all know banks are not acting in your best interest, right? I mean, JP Morgan as an example is exceptional. Jamie Dimon is exceptional at extracting value out of several million customers and delivering that to his shareholders, right? So, and these shareholders are happy to pay him 60 to 100 million a year because he delivers 30 billion in profit every year. All that money comes from the poorest Americans, right? Who pay deposit fee, no activity fee, ATM fee, withdrawal fee, you name it, right? So the blockchain allows you to be your own bank. For example, Celsius, since it was created, has never charged a single customer a single fee. There are no fees at Celsius, right? We have to create value. We keep 20%. We give 80% of it back to the depositor, not to the shareholder, right? So that is a new concept, and the reason we've grown so much, so fast, right? We've not to brag, but in 3 years we have more assets than Pantera, Galaxy, and some of the other guys put together. And the reason for that is that we give 80% of what we make back to the depositor, right? And no one just thought of doing anything like that. If you told anyone, look, I'm going to start a company and I'm going to give most of that back to my users, they'll be like, what are you talking about? You can't run a business that way. So you can't run a business like that if you have 10 million in deposit, but you can run it if you have 10 billion in deposit. So I think it's not just that the disruption is in digitization, the disruption is also in the business model. And I think most of these banks are just not going to be able to survive if companies like ours just basically take away all their assets, because each one of us has to decide every day, are we giving the money to the bank or are we giving it to a digital asset company? Because you can take the same dollar and make it into USDC, right? It's still owned by, held by a trust company like Coinbase, or you're going to give it to JP Morgan, who's just going to charge you fees on it. So I just think, again, the question is, what is the killer app for the blockchain? Yes, we can use the blockchain for gaming and 20 other things, but the blockchain is actually something very small, slow, and very expensive. So unless you're using it for something that is 10x or 100x, it's not going to do well competing against centralized services.
And to Sadie, to you, thank you, Alex. Sadie, to you, areas of opportunity furthering on Alex's point that you may be seeing as well. Yeah. I like the shirt, Alex. I like the shirt.
I could definitely mimic everything that Gary and Alex both said about banks. When we first started, we had to have two separate entities, one with a fiat bank and one with a crypto bank. And they still froze our payroll multiple times because we'd been flagged as crypto by our fiat bank, which had nothing to do with crypto. So I've had a long-standing gripe with the way that they've addressed the crypto world. But for me, I think that the next wave, and from my perspective, is going to be the custody race. A couple of years ago, everybody was building an OTC desk, and then next it was prime brokerage. Everybody was doing best execution, prime brokerage, and I feel like now everyone's doing custody. And so you see a bunch of people piling in, a bunch of people acquiring and trying to formalize their offerings and improve their offerings. And then you see, the people who don't quite get it fall off. So I'm excited. From our perspective, we are really excited to see more offerings out there that support the custody of digital assets, because that is such a sticking point with the regulators, that I think the more people who support custody of digital assets, the more the regulators are going to come to understand what that actually means, and that's going to benefit everybody in the space. So that's what I'm excited to see.
Well, and custody has come so far in the past 2 years, but there's so much more to be had, right? We saw the opening, or the approval, I should say, of banks being able to, in the United States at least, being able to hold certain custody solutions or offer custody solutions. But where does that go? And as we start to see the first cryptocurrency or digital asset banks start to open up, again, where does this area go in terms of custody? I think you're spot on that there's a huge area of opportunity, because while banks are not our friends, they do hold things that we don't want to keep under our mattress per se. But to the point of the digital assets, we still need somewhere to store them. And there's some great services out there, but more to be had on how that process is handled as well. Anuj, to you, current state, or excuse me, areas of opportunity. What are you seeing?
So I'm gonna go back to Alex and Gary's point again. At World Business Angel Forum, we have been an active proponent for financial inclusivity, and just like that T-shirt said, banks are not your friend. I know it's a lifetime ago, but let's not forget 2008. Bank always screws the little guy. That's part of the reason why in India, even when government started a huge program to get more people their bank accounts, those bank accounts are empty. They had some deposit for the first year or so, but now no one's using them. Compare that to new companies that are coming up. To call back to what Gary said, there's going to be banks that care about you, and there's going to be banks that don't care about you. I put that differently. There's going to be the banks that are there right now because they don't care about you, and there's going to be the neo banks, the new fintech companies that are coming up. Companies like Paytm in India, which is doing a fantastic job. They're coming up with credit cards, they're coming up with debit cards, they're coming up with their wallet system. And it's fantastic to see that even the poorest of poor are using it. A roadside stall, a roadside vendor is using it, which is mind-blowing, because these are the people that have never had access to a banking institution. So for them, finally getting access to a digital system where they can store their money, because they don't want to pay that ATM fee or that deposit fee or that withdrawal fee, or they don't want to go to the bank to do all of that. It's amazing to see that these guys are actually doing it. And as these new companies are going to grow, as they're going to develop credit card, as they're going to develop loan system, it's going to be a whole new level. Other than that, as I mentioned, gaming, huge system for blockchain. You once you develop a good game, once you can bring something that's on a console that's not really widely available to everyone into mobile, even to a mass market like Southeast Asia, India, Indonesia, China, you're going to see something which will be next level. I've said this numerous times. The last 9 months has been a time machine. It's this year is a tipping point. There's going to be pre-2020 timeline, and there's going to be the post-2020 timeline, where you're going to see things completely differently. There's going to be a whole new world, a whole new form of technology that's going to be developed. And who knows what the future will. I mean, I've said this 1,000 times. There are so many applications to this. Only the people who are going to crack the code are going to be big, and they're going to be the new system. 2008, we saw how banks screwed us. It's about time in 2020 fintech companies take over, and we tell them, all right, guys, we've had enough.
Well, we're starting to see that as well, right? With many more companies building their own fintech ecosystems, a little bit on Adrian's point, and more offering fintech financial services as an additional service to what they do, whether it be partnering with some of the traditional or opening up new outlets as well. In India, specifically, sorry, go ahead.
There's Ola, there is Grab. Both the companies started off as taxi companies, and they have their own prepaid card, they have their own wallet system. All of that is fintech. They've already started offering a digital card with a prepaid limit. That's amazing. That's something that Indian population has never had access to. I mean, it's easy to think in United States where you can buy gift cards anywhere. India has never had gift cards. India has never had prepaid cards. So for them, getting access to that kind of a system where you can actually use your card instead of carrying cash everywhere, that's a future.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is an area you focus on. I mean, you worked with Amex to bring gift cards to the region as well. I mean, this is something that's your bread and butter. And in India, I mean, where are you seeing things really transform? Because India, in terms of financial opportunities, I mean, the applications similar to Latin America, as we've spoken about here too, as well with Africa. I mean, there are actual opportunities and movements happening in the region. What are you starting to see further on the ground?
Okay, ground reality. In terms of corporate hubs, there's always going to be a roadside tea stall where people are going to go out, have a smoke. Those stall vendors have always been dependent upon cash. India went through a demonetization, I guess back in 2016, 2017. We still remember that. everyone had cash, but it was practically worthless. What everyone did, they switched over to a company like Paytm. And bravo, you have a new market, people with their monthly income less than 30,000 Indian rupees. That's just a few $1,000s. So for them, going into that system, 30,000 is $500 a month. That kind of population going into a digital system, it's mind blowing, because for them, they don't have to carry cash everywhere. They have been sending money to their families. They don't now have to carry that cash with them when they're making the trip home. They can do it on a regular basis. So it's going to improve the standard of living. It's going to improve their life. It's basically already changing everything. Like I mentioned, Ola coming up with a prepaid wallet, a prepaid card. It's already being adapted. It's already being used by people. We don't have Apple Card here right now, but companies like Paytm, which is already valued at 16 or 17 billion dollars, coming up with a credit card, it's going to open up a whole new avenue for population that has never had access to credit card. Because right now, less than 2% of people in India, less than 2% of 1 billion people have access to a credit card. Imagine opening that up to the remaining 98%. It's going to be a whole different ballgame.
It's exciting to see, and again, banks are not your friend, as Alex has put out there. So it's going to be even more exciting. We should get a T-shirt for everybody. They get their first digital credit card, and they get a T-shirt from Alex. It's a whole program we've got here on VCTV. Adrian, to you, where are you seeing the areas of opportunity as we get ready to round things out here? Oh, Adrian. All right, we may have lost you. Sadie, I want to come back to you on trading. Want to talk to you a little bit more about what you're seeing in terms of digital assets and where they're moving towards into terms of 2021. Woo, Monday. I want to talk to you a little bit about where do you see this really transforming as we head into the year ahead from the trading side, beyond custody, and then just digital assets. What is your prediction for the year ahead?
My prediction for the year ahead really might not be very popular, but I really don't think we're going to see a lot of change in the top 20 digital assets that are being traded. I mean, we'll see some rising stars come in. We'll see some favorites fall out. But really, in general, I think there's a lot of options out there for trading, especially if you're doing high frequency and bot trading. But for the longer term traders like us, you've got to think about how long you can hold a position. Trying to get in and get out as fast as you can is not in our playbook. So, for us, what I see us trading over the next year or so is not going to change a whole lot, because I think that liquidity and depth of market are really important for any kind of return to your investors. So from my perspective, I don't see much difference.
And Alex, coming back to you, banks are not our friends. I threw that hashtag out into the world, so let's see what we can do with it. But in terms of looking forward to the year ahead, 2021, what's one or two things that people should be aware of, have on their radar if they're looking to enter this industry or really grow within these areas of fintech and blockchain? And would love to hear your thoughts as to what those areas might be.
Yeah, so you have three competing initiatives, like the three-horse race between the central bank blockchains, like the Chinese one, the European one, and so on. Those are, everybody has to understand that those don't have limited supply. So even though they may run on this or that blockchain, they are not like Bitcoin. They're not like some of the stuff that we view as a great store of value, right? The second form of these initiatives is a corporate initiatives, right? So Libra and JP Morgan has a coin and so on, that are basically trying to really mine your data, right? So the only reason Facebook is launching Libra is not, they're gonna give the service for free, right? They're not trying to make any money on the service. It's because the only piece of information they don't have about you is your financial data. So here is a free service that will, in return, suck all your financial data into Facebook so they can sell you even more things. right? And the third horse in this race is the public blockchain, similar to what the public internet was back in the early 90s. And it had to compete with the intranet or compete with the government information superhighway, for those of us who are old enough to remember that. So it's not obvious that the public choice, the public blockchain is going to win. If all of us vote for the wrong choice, and I'm not talking politics, I'm just talking about blockchain, then we will have a corporate or a government version instead of having another layer of internet on top of our internet, right? So I think unless we find those killer apps and unless those kind of scale the public blockchain and bring billions of people to use it, there's a pretty high chance that the other horses will finish the race first and will get mass adoption. And when you have mass adoption, it doesn't matter how good the other guy is, right? You just lose the race. So these are the things that everybody has to think about. These are both the opportunities and the risks involved. And obviously, I think everybody on this call, I think we know how we vote, but what matters is how many 7.5 billion people are going to vote, not just how the people in crypto are going to vote.
Absolutely. And speaking of billions, so about 1.3, 1.4, 1.5 billion people in China. China has been pushing waves of this industry forward in some cases, and others there's just headlines, but there's also a lot of initiatives, right? We've got blockchain and fintech being a part of the next 5-year plan that China is putting together. We've got the digital yuan, again, that is being active with hundreds of millions of dollars and moving forward. Alex, I'd love to get your take as to where do you see things with China or Asia as a whole right now in terms of the fintech blockchain movement as opposed to the rest of the world? Are we being pushed forward, or are things really just the beginning of what everyone is doing right now?
So I think, look, China has figured out that they have a critical mass of users, and if they mandate the technology, just like they did their version of 5G, it happens. I launched the first commercial 5G device in the United States for Verizon, right? And we used Qualcomm chipset, and we used basically open source technology and so on to put it together. But China would never allow something like that, right? So the same way they basically created their own version of 5G, they created their own version of the blockchain, their own version of winners and losers, and none of the foreign countries or companies are allowed in. They're going to create 1 billion users on their platform and then make sure that the rest of the world adopts it. So it's going to be very hard for us to compete. Chinese people are not going to have choice. All right, let's put it that way. They're not going to be able to just choose Bitcoin or choose Ethereum or choose Libra. So it's going to be very hard for us, the rest of the world, to compete against the technology that already has 1 billion users, right? And they're definitely first out of the barn, to continue the horse analogy here, because they're already, like you said, testing it, and we're still bickering in the United States about what does a digital dollar look like, and who's going to do it, and who is allowed to touch this stuff, right? So it's great that the OCC is finally kind of like pushing these things faster, but in technology, for the second guy, it's very, very difficult to catch up. It's not like you're 10 or 12 meters behind in a 100-yard race. This is a marathon in which the first runner already left an hour ago, and the whole race may be just 2 or 3 hours. So we're disadvantaged, and again, there's a high chance that the rest of the world has just got to adopt this technology, which is going to be given to them for free, right? They're not going to have to pay the Chinese government or anything. They want this mass adoption because for them, the win is not about the technology. For them, the win is that the yuan becomes the reserve currency of the world. And they're going to basically dethrone the US dollar.
Which is we're starting to see the early days of as well. And to the audience, definitely check out a lot of the news that's out there, and we can point some stuff in the show notes as well. Gary, to you, AI, the convergence. What else should people be paying attention to looking in 2021 when it comes to artificial intelligence and its role in terms of fintech as well?
Well, I mean, so as I said, the hyper-personalization move, the digital banking move, big data, security, cybersecurity, being able to use artificial intelligence to predict what's going to happen next and plug the hole before it becomes a problem. Look at the amount of data is being generated. How much of that data is really being acted upon at the bank today to provide better services? Not a lot. So being able to take the AI and in an unsupervised, semi-supervised way to be able to make some pretty interesting forecasts, and more importantly, help people get better service faster and get comfortable doing it online. This whole digital transformation is taking place has given us a unique opportunity, and we need to provide the same level, make the customers feel the same as they did when we're going into the bank for the service. So we need to have that high touch kind of feeling, and that's what we need over the next year. And that'll be a trend going forward. I just see that really strong over the next 1 to 3 years.
Wonderful. And with that, everyone, we're at the lightning round. So I do want to come to everyone for closing thoughts, and then also where everyone can find you online to continue the conversation as we reach the top of the hour on Partner Monday, which is an important day in regards to this topic. So Adrian, to you, quick closing thoughts, and where can everyone find you online?
Sorry, I was kicked out earlier. Everybody can find me on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, it's my favorite place to be. I would say I will pay very close attention to projects built around the idea of basic income. This is a theme coming back over and over, and I see many projects developing around this idea. So I'm looking at this area. Thank you very much for having me here, and can't wait to come back.
Wonderful. Thank you. Noble, I see you joined as well. Quick closing thoughts. Where can everyone find you online?
Yeah, sorry I was being late, Kyle. Family emergency, but easy to find me. Noble Dracone on LinkedIn and Twitter @Dracone. I signed up for Celsius, Alex, by the way. So very happy to support you and what you're doing. I really like it. I really believe in the gaming space. Non-fungible tokens are really key. We do a lot of stuff in gaming, and what's happening with skins and avatars being basically a shadow economy of billions and billions of dollars are only going to grow. And non-fungible tokens gets rid of the fiat one for one in a big way. And I think that that's going to become a huge secondary economy, regardless of who wins the race, as being a replacement reserve of currency or fiat. So just reach out to me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gary. Even though you just went, any other closing thoughts, and then where can everyone find you online?
Yeah, sure. No, I just, as I said, it's, this is the dawn of a new era, and I'm really excited about it. And so you can reach me, Gary Fowler, LinkedIn, or Gary@gsdvs.com, or check out my show. It's going to be on tomorrow. And Samir Sharma, the head of Smart Cities and Internet of Things, will be on there, and I'll be interviewing him tomorrow. GSD Presents, you can see it on our website with the login information. Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it. It's great to see you.
You too. Thank you, sir. Anuj, to you, closing thoughts. Where can everyone find you online to continue the conversation?
So you can find me on LinkedIn. My name must be right here somewhere here, so it must be pretty easy to find me. You can check out our website, yellowsapphiretech.com. I'm pretty easy to find on Twitter as well, @Anuj. We are already working with multiple companies in fintech and blockchain sector. We are already working on creating a mobile tournament platform with a partner in Qatar. We are already working on a P2P system for Middle East and Indonesia and Bangladesh. So if you are in those sectors, do reach out. Would love to have a conversation, see if we can explore some synergies.
Wonderful. Sadie, to you, closing thoughts, and where can everyone find you online to continue the conversation?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn or Strix Fund, STRIXfund.com. My lightning closing thoughts are going to be a little out there, but so I'm in the crypto trading space, which I love. I think it's going to stick around, and we're going to see the markets really get more efficient and robust. And I do believe it's the future. And when we get to the future state that I envision, and I feel like we've succeeded, it's going to be when I can fly into Fiji, skip the money changer, don't worry about my Wi-Fi connection on my phone because I'm going to pay my cab driver with carbon credits or gaming tokens or one of the other 30 different kinds of crypto-enabled tokens to exchange value. And for me, that's when we've succeeded.
I don't think that is out there at all. I think that sounds right spot on with the rest of us and what we believe as well. So thank you very much, Sadie. And last but not least, Alex, closing thoughts. Where can everyone find you and that awesome t-shirt as well?
Yeah, so Celsius.network is the website. I think we have a shop actually that sells these things. So if you go all the way to the bottom of the website, there's a link. And, I think, again, you can find me on Twitter at Mashinsky. We do a show every Friday kind of talking about these things in detail. So just go YouTube and do a search for Celsius Network. I think, again, look, the blockchain opportunities that we're just at the beginning of that cycle. If you look at what's happening with decentralized exchanges, AMMs, and so on, there's a lot of innovation happening in DeFi and so on. And if you have any programming skills, if you have a beautiful fresh mind and you think you can reinvent everything in finance is going to have to be reinvented on these blockchains. So I invite our viewers to come and help us cross that chasm and really get to mass adoption, because that's really the key. And we need to get there. We need killer products to invite those 7.5 billion people to join us.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. With that, thank you all so much for your thoughts and insights today and spending your Partner Monday with not just myself and Emmanuel, but with our entire audience as well. And really appreciate that. To you, our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard, click subscribe, give us a thumbs up, do reach out if you'd like to be on a show like today, and definitely reach out to each and every one of our investors and experts on the panel today. Make sure you add context, thank you, Gary, to where you heard them, where that you met them and or saw them. Thank you, Noble. They would all love to continue the conversation. We're all available 24/7, 365 online as well. And entrepreneurs, as well as investors, you do have a chance to be here on VCTV with us. Do reach out. We'd love to find the right set of investors and subject matter for you to present your company, product, and or service to us and to our live audience. With that, I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott for VCTV here today. A big thank you to the LATOKEN team and Emmanuel for making VCTV possible. Again, thank you to my guests. We look forward to seeing all of you soon, some sooner than others, here in just a little bit as we move to our next episode on VCTV. With that, again, audience, make sure you check out everybody, not just as individuals, but their respected companies, and follow up with each and every one of them, as I know they would love to continue the conversation. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. See you back here